So, good evening, my Rosalind and Rosikins. Mother is back. And in this episode, I want to talk about why investments are better than savings after you have established an emergency fund. So, as we know, Mother always says that there's an order to these things for, your wealth journey. One, number one thing is emergency fund. That's your first step for anything. Then you can go into investments, etc. And then you can go into, sinking funds, etc. Why is the emergency fund the foundation? Because you need access to your money quick and in a hurry if any shit pops off, which means you need to be able to go to your bank, transfer your money from your high yield savings account into your checking account and handle that emergency. Whether that's a flight home, whether that is a government fucking shutdown. I mean, this is the perfect example for why you need an emergency fund. And you're going to miss a couple paychecks or something. Or maybe you get injured, hospital bill, etc., etc., etc. And then after that, you want to start putting money into your investments. Why the investments? Because investments have compound interest. So let's say you invest 10K. Okay, and while I'm saying this, I'm going to be on investmentcalculator.com, and I'm going to put that link in the comment section below for you all who want to look and do your own calculations. So, like I said, let's say you have 10K, you start investing straight off. Maybe you keep it in there for 3 years, and let's say you earn 7% interest or return rate, and it compounds daily. And let's say every month you put in like $300 at the beginning of the month. So that 10K can possibly turn into 24,389 and 22 cents by the end of 3 years if every month you contribute $300 at a 7% interest rate that you get daily compounding from. Let's say you made it 10. If it's a 10% interest rate that it's daily compounding, it would be 26,145 and 22 cents. Okay, now let's change that and let's compare that to if you put 10K inside of a high yield savings account. And let's say that the APY was 3.76%. And let's say you did 36 months, which is the equivalent of 3 years. And let's say you did that same $300. Well, by the end of 3 years, you would have 22,590 and then 38. Okay, so if we compare this, that is around the same, probably $4,000 off versus putting it into the market. Um, yeah. So if it was at a 10% interest rate in investments versus a 3.76% in your high yield savings account. But here's the difference. Let's say that we do it for 10 years instead of 3 for both scenarios. If you change this to 120 months and then you calculate it, here's where the gap keeps getting wider. So inside of your high yield savings account, if you change that to a 10-year span of like putting in $300 a month into a $10,000 investment with an APY of 3.76, it'll be 58,000 over the span of 10 years you would get. Versus if you put inside the market and at 7% interest rate with $300 a month for 10 years, you would get $72,000. Let's change that to 10% in the market. That would be $89,000 and 290. So 89,290.36. So $89,000 versus 10 years in the high yield savings with 58. The point is, the more time you have in both of these avenues, whether it's an investment account or your savings account, there will be a gap because your investments will always, for the most part, outperform your actual high yield savings account. And so that is why it is important to understand that, yes, have your cash on hand. Have a high yield savings account. You can't go wrong. But keep investing because your money will work for you twice as hard, if not 3 times as harder, inside the market than it ever could instead of a high yield savings account. So that is why Mother is big on the fact that yes, you do need to understand that it's better to invest than it is to save after you have your emergency fund complete. And another thing I want to talk about, sometimes we overindulge with our emergency fund. Sometimes we do. Let me explain why. Because a lot of us are like the first poverty generation breakers in our families. A lot of us Roslins have started from the bottom. Now we're here. A lot of us Roslins understand what it is to be very anxious financially. And so when we start breaking those generational curses, we start getting antsy and iffy in our wealth building journey, you know? Because we're used to having to struggle or seeing people in our bloodline struggle in order to, just to be comfortable financially when we are actually destined for a luxurious life. So we have to understand that, our flop or whatnot, our bottom financially and their bottom is not the same. We're being put in positions in our life financially where our bottom is their best day. It's their best scenario for their finances when that's literally our worst scenario for our finances because we're made to live luxurious lifestyles. Like for me, I was contemplating making my emergency fund even bigger than it needs to be by the end of this year. And I remember I did a tarot reading with my ancestors, and they confirmed the number that it should be inside of my emergency fund versus me trying to do more because I'm scared. And I'm like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Because I'm trying to sow a seed out of anxiety when I should be sowing it out of confidence and abundance, not because I'm scared that I'm going to lose money, but that I understand I'm going to keep gaining money. The mindset shift there. You cannot um, penny pinch anxiously your way to wealth. You have to understand that it's not a crime to have a certain amount of money in your emergency fund and then invest and appreciate the rest of the money you make outside of that, right? So me, I'm gonna always keep sewing into my emergency fund, but like probably like $50 a month, $75 a month type of thing, because I already have the main core factor there, right? Versus you taking $300 towards your emergency fund every month, and there's nothing wrong if you do it that way instead, because you might not have a lump sum of money that has been accumulated to just put it in there and just leave it like that. So I get it, but you should put $300 towards your investments every month, not towards your savings account after you reach a certain number. So let's say your emergency fund just needs to be about 10,000. Nobody said do 15,000. You know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with saving more, a little more than you need. But what my point is that sometimes we will oversave and underinvest because we're scared to lose money. But really, you're stopping your blessing from compounding. I just showed you the different comparison of $10,000 in the market versus your emergency fund, right? They both start at 10K, right? And each month you're putting $300 to that extra in both accounts. Over the course of 10 years, your investments could grow to about 90K. Over the course of 10 years, your savings will grow to about 58K. You know what I'm saying? You damn near doubled your money within 10 years putting it in the market versus putting it in a high yield savings account. And that's my point. You don't want to play yourself because you're scared to lose or you have a impoverished mindset, even though you have wealth or at the beginning stages of your wealth journey versus the other people in your family and what you're used to because you're afraid. When it comes down to wealth and abundance, you should have the mindset of gratefulness, not fear. And that's something I'm learning too. So I'm not judging you. I'm not telling you that Mother has never done this. Mother was just about to do it. But I had to really sit with myself and spiritually hone in on why am I feeling that I need to be anxious about my own money when I'm obviously blessed with abundance. You know what I'm saying? Like you're blessed with abundance, my Rosalind, and you just need to keep building on that abundance. And that means investing more than you save, period. I don't care what no one fucking says. And that also means building other ways of income. Like maybe starting content creation, maybe getting another job. You remember how we went gazelle intense, as Dave Ramsey says, for our debt-free life and the mindset shifts we had to have and how you're paying off your debt? Well, how about you continue, take a little break, right? Reward yourself after you get debt-free, but then start with that same mindset because you're in a race to build your wealth. And that's not to say you're stressed about wealth. That's not to say you're anxious. That's to say that you are prioritizing the time you have and putting the money in the market to give it more time to bounce back, increase, grow, etc., compound. Because time is your greatest asset, especially for my Rosalind who are in their 20s, like mother, or even younger. Time is on our side, my baby girls. So we have got to keep going. And 30s and 40s, etc. You are as young as you feel, and you are as young as you are healthy. My thing though is that though you want to be at certain places in your life around certain time frames, right? So in your 40s, you want to be able to have the choice to step back from the work life, right? Maybe in your 20s and 30s, you are about securing a wealthy husband. And so you want to make sure you have established something for yourself, right? Maybe you're into building a family in your 30s. So in your 20s, you want to sow those oats and let it grow so you have options. My thing is, whatever you feel that you want to do, make sure that you have the passion and the action to go behind it, especially in regards to building wealth. And know that it's okay. It's okay to invest. And some people even do crypto as well. I want to mention that because some of you are crypto girlies. I'm not. Mother may get into that in the future. I know it's a big asset. But my thing is just like, I like NVIDIA and stuff like that, like stocks and whatnot. But my thing is like, I like things like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's all about self educating as well. But never play yourself and think that you can save your way to wealth. It's about investing. Investing is way more necessary for wealth building, right? And business building, etc., entrepreneurship or six-figure careers or great career paths, even things that are lower than six figures, because if you are a child free like mother, you can make that stretch because it's just you got to worry about. And especially if you're in certain fields where they give you certain discounts, certain benefits, health benefits, etc., etc. Like, the world is your oyster. Mother's making this video to remind you, though, that do not have a lack mindset when you are destined for luxurious life. You can't have both. And you have to take a chance on yourself and trust that Yah will provide and that you're going to be okay. As long as you do your part, you're going to be okay. I just want you to know that. And with that, Mother is going to say, ciao.